Hey, this is a review of my PS3 games, and don't worry, I made sure to make several piles this time, if you've seen my previous video. But this is Ninja Gaiden Sigma. It was actually the game I got with my PS3. It's a remake of the Xbox game Ninja Gaiden, and its remake Ninja Gaiden Black. Um, It's actually a bit easier than Ninja Gaiden Black, in my opinion. The graphics are really good, but they also added these Rachel missions. She's a character in the game, and they feel pretty tacked on. They're slow, and it really kind of affects the pace of the game in a bad way, but it's otherwise a really good game. It's tough to say whether this is the definitive version. I might go with Ninja Gaiden Black over this, but if you're a fan of good graphics, then maybe you take this over that one. Yeah. So then these two games, MLB 08 and 09, the show. I also have 10, but I don't know where that is right now. But these are really, really good games. They're actually pretty hard at first. If you're new to the series and you play it for the first time, you're probably gonna suck, for lack of a better term, because it takes a while to get used to the timing of like the pitches and swinging in accordance to the speeds of the pitches. And yeah, I'd recommend putting it on the easiest setting at first, but once you practice and stick with it, it's really rewarding, and it's a really good sim, especially compared to the 2K series, which is horrendous. So yeah, I definitely give these a try if you have any interest in baseball. And next up is Warhawk. This is came out during the early days of the PS3, and didn't really like it too much because I guess I played a lot of Battlefield 2 on the PC before this game came out, and I just consider that a much better large-scale game than this one. If I remember correctly, this is a third-person shooter, but still, it just felt kind of the same, but inferior in a lot of ways. I didn't really like the aircraft combat, and yeah, I didn't really feel motivated to keep playing this after a little bit. So yeah. And next is Metal Gear Solid 4. I really, really love this game. This is actually my favorite game of 2008. It was pretty close with Super Smash Brothers, but I guess this edges it out a bit. It's gotten a lot of backlash lately because I guess people don't really like cutscenes that much anymore, and they kind of want simplistic stories, which I disagree with. I don't think that gaming should always be about simple, like, eco kind of stories. I really love eco, but I kind of like that you have to pay attention to this series if you want to, like, get the most out of this series. And, like, I don't like the whole idea that what the complaint that people say when they're like, oh, this is such a complex story. I played 3 or 4 and I don't get it. Well, you're not supposed to. If you read Lord of the Rings and started with the Two Towers and didn't understand what was going on, that's your own fucking fault. I mean, you have to start from the beginning to understand where the series is. And I mean, if you're a fan of Metal Gear Solid, the series at all, then 4 is very rewarding. I really like the whole idea of aging and how he kind of feels irrelevant in modern combat because of all the nano machines or whatever. Sorry, it's been a couple of years since I played it, but Act 4, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's amazing, especially the beginning of Act 4. If you played it, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's probably one of the best moments in gaming, period. I would definitely recommend this game. The ending I didn't really like. By ending, I mean the very, very end of the game. It kind of dragged on, and those who played it will definitely know what I mean. I'm not going to spoil any of it. And next is Katamari Forever. This is kind of a greatest hits, if you will, of the Katamari series. And a lot of people are kind of tired of the Katamari franchise because they kind of kept shelling them out, and it lost some of its, I guess, charm. And it's basically a game where you roll around and kind of collect things as you go. Like if you roll over maybe like a house, I don't know why I chose that as an example, but you then like kind of absorb the house, and the goal is to like get as big as you can by accumulating a lot of objects, and it's really fun. The music is really kind of Japanese and cool, and yeah, this is probably the version to get since 360 equivalent Katamari, Beautiful Katamari or whatever, it has a lot of DLC, and that could cost you a lot in the long run. I got this for like $15, so yeah. And next up is a game that I hate. It's probably, I'd say, the third worst game I played this generation. It's slightly ahead of Sonic Unleashed and Mario Party 8, but I consider this a bigger offender than those two, because this actually had promise, and you kind of knew what you were getting into with Mario Party 8 and Sonic Unleashed. So I guess I should get into why I don't like this game. The obvious thing is the platforming itself. The jumping is horrendous, and if you've ever played a platformer, you should know how important the actual jumping plays a part in the experience. And I don't know, you don't feel like you're in control. And whenever I play the level, I usually try to come back to this game every couple months to see if I was missing something, because it actually is like a critical darling in a way. And I don't know, I've never been impressed. I played one of the NeoGAF levels, the Contra remake, and I don't know, it's nowhere near as good as Contra. It's cool that they made the levels and they look cool, but I mean, that's all it is. This game pretty much encompasses what's wrong with a lot of the industry today. People are really into flash and graphics, and I mean, I cannot have fun playing this game. I mean, none of the levels that ship with the game that you don't download, the ones made by Media Molecule, they're just, I mean, they might as well not even be there. It's not like they're coherent or anything. They're just random levels that are pretty much, they're pretty much made with level editor stuff, and you don't feel like there's any progression going on or anything like that. And another big offender is the fact that they release so many costumes and they charge for them, which, whatever, that doesn't seem that bad. But in a game about creativity and kind of like customizing your own stuff, why would they charge you for that stuff? I mean, that's just kind of a slap in the face to the community, and I definitely don't support that kind of treatment. I don't know, this just isn't a fun game at all, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who cares about actual game mechanics. And this was a huge waste of money for me, and probably one of my biggest gaming regrets, period. And they're not going to fool me again with the sequel. So sorry about that little rant. And this is Heavy Rain. It's kind of a choose your own adventure story. There's not too much interaction going on. It's a simplification is just to call it like quick time events of the game. And I guess that's kind of it. Only I really didn't like the controls that much. I actually haven't finished it because when I heard that it had Move support, PlayStation Move, I kind of held off. And I don't have a Move yet, but I will get one probably, and I'll finish it that way. But from what I played, the voice acting was pretty bad, actually really bad. I'll probably just switch it to French when I replay this, because the English voice acting was performed by French actors. I think you don't really want that. And one of the problems I have with this game is the fact that it's basically a fictionalized version of Philadelphia, yet 98% of the population is white, and that kind of frustrates me in a way. I usually get I'm usually anal about like these racial inconsistencies. Like I don't think they have an excuse, even though the game was developed in France. They did a lot of research and even went to Philadelphia and photographed a lot of stuff. And this tells me that they either don't care about race at all, or the worst thing, they intentionally made most of the people in the backgrounds white to appeal to the lowest common denominator. They were afraid that for some reason people can't handle multiple races, and I don't know, that just rubs me the wrong way for some reason. I don't know. I just wish they'd be bolder, and I'm sure people are waiting for a game that embraces the world for what it really is. So sorry about that second rant in a row, but yeah, the story was okay for the most part, but I mean, if you saw a movie with really bad voice acting, which is applicable to this since this is almost a movie, I mean, there's not too much interactivity, as I said, then you wouldn't like it. And yeah, I wish they did more for that voice acting. Okay, Gran Turismo 5. I got this recently in a trade, and I haven't played too much of it yet. I wanted to, but there's actually a lot of installs associated with this game. I probably had to wait like 2 hours before I actually played it because I had to boot up the game. Then it told me that I didn't have enough space, so I had to get out. Then I cleared up space, and I went back in the game, and they said, you need to install a firmware update for the PS3, so I did that. Then it said there was another software update for my PS3. I'm not really sure what that means, but I had to install that. And then I had to actually install the game onto my PS3, which took probably about 20 to 30 minutes. And I actually got to play. And I did a couple license tests, and they're pretty fun. I actually haven't played Gran Turismo since the first one, and I was surprised to see that like the countdown clock makes the same exact noise as the first one. I don't know how I remember that since I was back in like 98 or 99 when I played it, but the graphics are really good so far. I mean, I know people complain about the non-premium cars, but I mean, I really couldn't care less about how much worse they look in comparison to the premium cars. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more of this as time moves on. Okay, Final Fantasy 13. It's actually still sealed. Don't have much to say about this, but I do want to play it. Got it cheap. Okay, and God of War Collection. This is basically one of their HD remakes that Sony keeps pushing out. And yeah, I mean, there isn't really much to say. I'm sure most of you played God of War 1 and or 2, and yeah, the graphics look pretty good in comparison to the PS2 ones, except for the cutscenes. They actually weren't remastered or whatever, but otherwise, the solid game. It has trophies if you care. I don't. They're still pretty fun. I'm not a huge God of War fan, but you definitely get a lot for doing very little compared to Devil May Cry or Bayonetta. I mean, you just press one or two buttons and you just kick a lot of ass, which I guess is the appeal of the series. It's not much of a mechanics game. It's more of a quote-unquote experience game. Very violent, of course. So, and that's it for part 1. I'll move on to part 2 in a bit.